right wing or left wing?
I really like buffalo wings.
Hi, and welcome back to Through the Muck and the Mire. I'm your host, David Hollifield. For this episode, I have Max in. Well, I had him in last night for a pretty long interview. We hung out, watched the map that you can see on the screen, watched that change throughout the night, talked about different things that were on the ballots across the nation. Most of it, we were talking mostly about legalization and stuff like that. So there's some a really good conversation between us about really about legalization. Honestly, is I believe most of the content that we talked about, and following, a lot of the state ballots that were either recreational use or increasing medical use, or there was Oregon that actually voted to decriminalize all, well, I don't know if it's all drugs. It's basically most drugs that were like Schedule 4 drugs. It was like cocaine, meth, heroin, stuff like that. So we get into a good discussion about that. Obviously, we talk about the election itself, but there's, it was incomplete information. So we were just kind of going off what we had last night. But for right now, for an update, because the information from our interview is old news. So for the update real quick before we get into the video, Arizona and Nevada are both looking blue. Last night they were kind of flip-flopping back and forth. And if I look at the 2016 map over here, you guys can't see it, but I can. It was Arizona was originally red and Nevada was blue, 2016. So Arizona flipped. It's looking pretty solid at this point. 84% reporting. Joe Biden's up 51%. Nevada is a much closer race, within 8,000 votes, less than 1%, but they're only 67% reporting right now. So who knows how that's going to end up. It's looking like Wisconsin. All right, so Wisconsin and Michigan are really the hot button topics right now. So there's all kinds of, of course there's going to be conspiracies. There were conspiracies before before the election even started. But Wisconsin is right now showing 95% reported, 49.6% for Joe Biden. And they've officially called it. It looks like, according to the Associated Press, got a check mark next to Joe Biden. So it's looking like they think that this is going to end up, or this is, ultimately a Joe Biden state. And that was like one of the big ones. So it was Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin were some of the biggest states that people were concerned about. Georgia, slightly red. Still not completely finished, but it looks like Georgia's going to be red. Donald Trump's got 50%, Joe Biden's 48%, which is a lot stronger than what Hillary Clinton did in 2016. She only had like 46%, or no, 45.6. I don't know, something like that. Less than Joe Biden, that's for sure. Florida, yeah, not surprised. Florida, definitely not surprised, is hard red. I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to follow all of the stories that people are talking about. I've had people blowing up my phone with, there's some sketchy numbers going around. Like there were certain states that, picked up 200,000 votes for Joe Biden all of a sudden. And it was like 200,000 new votes came in from this time to this time. And every single one of the votes went to Joe Biden and not a single other candidate. I haven't verified that. That's just something that somebody texted me. And then there's like some issues with mail-in ballots, I think being, filled out incorrectly, but still being counted and stuff like that. As far as the timing, I've said this, if you follow me on social media, which you should follow me on social media, by the way, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of those things. I said this already, but there is a method laid out by the Constitution of the United States, and it allows the states to set up how their citizens vote. So if people filled out ballots correctly and followed what the state told them that they can do if they want to vote, and they mailed those ballots in by the date and time that their state told them to do it, then whenever that mail-in ballot gets to be counted is when it should be counted. Like I don't understand like this instant gratification that people want. And I mean, this is literally how the Constitution has it set up, and its laws. And it's ironically mostly Republicans that are for law and order and love the Constitution that are bitching about counting mail-in ballots. Like, do you not want American citizens' votes to be counted? I don't understand. They followed the law. If you have a complaint about something illegal, let's hear it. But if you're complaining because it's taking too long to count a vote, then shut the hell up, because that's the way that the system works by law. So, and anyways, the Electoral College votes in December, so it doesn't really necessarily matter right now, because the Electoral College actually doesn't even have to vote with the popular vote of the state anyways. They can go opposite if they want to. And then there's a lot of legal stuff that happens, so like the state can then reverse it. We're getting too far into the weeds now, but basically my point is just shut up and just be patient, because regardless, Donald Trump is going to be president until at least January 20th. That's not going to change regardless of who wins this. And we're really not going to know the ultimate final decision at least until December. And I think they have until January 6th for Congress to count the votes of the Electoral College. So I understand, like, we want to know the answer, but I just don't think that we should be bitching about people literally getting their right to vote, have their vote counted. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and let you get to the interview with Max and enjoy. All right, we're on. Beauteous Maximus. Oh, Beauteous Maximus. That should have been your band name. All right, so let's talk about, at least for right now, we've got a couple of things that we want to talk about. First off, we're going to start with this. The map on the right is the 2016 election map, and then the map in the bottom left is our current, what it looks like, our current numbers. Now, this is different depending on what source you go to. This is the Associated Press, and these are the numbers that they are reporting. Who were you just looking at a second ago?
I think I just Googled and assumed that it would come up with a mixed bag of the results. That's what, like, the way that I Google it is just like the total.
Or no, that was NBC downstairs.
Sure.
So NBC is reporting.
Snuffleupagus
is Snuffleupagus is reporting different numbers than the Associated Press, but regardless, everybody is reporting currently that Joe Biden is leading electoral votes,
just like Hillary in 2016.
Just like Hillary in 2016.
Because California is like, yeah, California, yeah, we got 40 votes, yeah, and then it's like
55.
Rain down the terror upon your soul.
So, all right, what we can point out,
depending on where you stand.
What we can point out immediately from looking at these maps, based off the information available to us at this moment, is that the only real difference right now is that Arizona and Nevada flip-flopped, and that is not good for Donald Trump. That's good for Joseph Biden.
But not good as Florida and Ohio.
But Florida and Ohio, yeah, but they didn't change, so we're not talking about them.
Oh, okay. I talked about them, but it wasn't relevant.
Exactly. We're talking about the maps. So this map is 2016, and that map is now.
I see.
So the only differences right now are Arizona and Nevada,
It flipped from my expectations.
Yeah. So the important states are what you're talking about, but
Right.
what we're talking about at this moment
The good thing is,
are Nevada and Arizona.
the good thing for people that want Biden to win is that there are many, many, many paths that lead to victory. But pretty much Pennsylvania is like the, you just nick them in the throat move. The fatality move. But,
You said Pennsylvania? Let's go ahead.
Pennsylvania, yep.
Let's see.
But
yeah, that's not looking good.
What? No.
Yikes.
Here's the thing.
64% voting,
Shut up.
57 Trump.
No shit, because Pennsylvania has 2 million votes. It has 44, I think, percent mail-in ballots that don't begin counting until 50 minutes ago. And they certainly won't be showing up until tomorrow daytime. So they think Friday, Pennsylvania will be called. Realistically, we're saying 10,000 per hour ballots counted.
Yeah, so Pennsylvania's worth 20 electoral votes. That's that's a pretty damn big number.
Not just that, though. It is just like the pivot of the three important Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania trifecta that won Trump 2016. Pennsylvania is the important one. I think Biden
Because
will
it's
win.
literally worth 20 electoral votes and the other two are only worth 10.
Not figuratively.
10, well, oh, hold up. Michigan's worth 16, but still Pennsylvania's worth 20. So it's by far worth the most electoral.
Michigan will probably, two of those I think will be Biden. But if it's Pennsylvania,
Do you think Michigan's going to go Republican?
I don't think so.
Because of Governor Whitmer's
Yeah.
harsh lockdown?
Yeah, I think that her favorability, her favorable rating was too high for all that nonsense. And I just think when Trump does things like edge on that kind of shit, edge on in some cases by not condemning it very harshly, or by literally egging on the Biden like campaign bus, dozen Trump flag trucks like surrounding that shit and like side swiping
Talking about Texas.
vehicles. Yeah, like I mean, people do not.
He said, I love Texas.
Yeah,
What a fucking troll.
I think people just don't like that shit. You know.
Do you think that Donald Trump is a good troll?
Yes.
Okay.
That is why he is where he is.
Max, I just got Max to admit that Donald Trump was good at something.
Yeah, he's also good at fellatio.
And if you didn't know, Max is a liberal.
he's good.
I'm
at,
surrounded by them in this house tonight. My wife already went to bed, but she's
I
also
lean
liberal.
Liberal. I'm not a liberal. I like to.
No, he's
I consider myself
a liberal.
progressive, but I get it. It's just semantics. But
I'm just fucking with you. That's not a bad thing. Actually, the definition of liberal is like that you're open to new ideas,
exactly.
which is a good thing.
Thank you.
It's a good thing.
I detest a lot of the Democratic Party, though. I think that should be clear. But hopefully you watch some of our
Touche.
other encounters so that they would know that.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope you watch all of our encounters and all of my speakings in general. Anytime that I speak, you should listen.
Yeah,
Not
you
because I'm a good speaker or that I have good thoughts,
have the
what-
best words.
but because it would help me for you to listen.
Please clap.
Me? Or them?
I was giving you a Jeb Bush moment.
Please clap. All right. So, anyways, back to the maps. There's nothing else to talk about here, so let's talk about marijuana. What do you want me to look up specifically for legalization? There's
I guess Arizona. Check them out. So
first
I'll go ahead and just tell you. In 2018, Arizona had marijuana on the ballot and voted just 1% off to legalize it. They were very close. So it was very clear, I think, that Arizona would legalize marijuana today. And I believe you can fact check this, but that comes with expunging marijuana charges. California didn't even do that.
Oh, that's badass.
Yeah.
So this is the Yahoo.
They're still around.
This article is from earlier today, and it talks about 5 key states that have marijuana on the ballot. So we've got
New Jersey, we got-
Mississippi.
Oh, look at Minnesota.
Yeah. Montana, New Jersey, South Dakota. And these are different. They've got different things
that
on the
was
ballot.
Montana, sorry.
Yeah. So Montana, they actually had 2 things.
They look alike, don't they?
I guess so.
Well, Montana's bigger.
But yeah, so Montana has recreational use. So not just like medical or whatever, recreational use, but they also have another thing on their ballot for setting a legal age limit, which obviously I think that that's a great idea because it's not good for you. Scientifically proven that it's not good for you to smoke weed or to use marijuana at a young age. But recreational use or legalization, decriminalization, all of these are good things. And not only are they good things for, sociological reasons, but they're also good for your wallet because a couple reasons, right? Taxes,
Right.
stocks.
I believe Colorado, as of 2018, hit the 1 billion mark for tax money raised. You can fact check that too later, but it's a lot since their 2012 legalization. If you recall, they were one of the first states to do so, alongside Washington State.
And what are they using that money for?
Oh, well, there's quite a lot of it going to schools and fire stations and, things that you need tax money to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that, those who say taxation is theft, in a way, it can be from people that don't deserve to pay set amounts while others use loopholes to get away with not doing that. But when you get the money from a new haven of industry, straight and simple, like they're taxing the fuck out of marijuana, and they should be. Just like alcohol. And it's like, there is no argument. The only reason it's not legal in every single state is because drug companies propel massive amounts of money to get you to be addicted to their harmful drugs instead of natural, God-made drugs of the earth that aren't even drugs, in my opinion, in this case. But anyway, I digress. I think it's absolutely awesome that we have 3 states. See, I didn't know about the third there. I just knew Arizona and New Jersey. But also we have a couple that I believe Missouri voted to for medical marijuana use. And we're now in the high 20s nationally on that, I think. Should be 15 for legalization, I think.
Yeah, so it's got, let's see. This is from Were you just talking about Mississippi?
I said Missouri.
Oh, okay, no.
I've had a lot of information pumped into my brain tonight.
Yeah,
so
no, I just
trying
typed
to think
in
about what I say.
I typed in Mississippi just to check on the Mississippi results right now, and they've got let's see, allow medical marijuana. So theirs is just medical marijuana, though it's not recreational. But it looks like they are gonna approve it basically. So far, from the votes that are in, Mississippi is a go for medical marijuana. Let's see, what other states were there? Arizona, we already know, right?
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Montana is pretty much guaranteed. Mississippi's guaranteed. What else was there? Rhode Island.
Yeah, there were a couple others that were.
Oh no, it was New Jersey. That's what I would.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna look up
I
New
mentioned
Jersey.
that. South Dakota was medical. See, there were a couple medical. There's always medical and decriminalization. What I haven't seen a lot of is the expunging of records coming with the legalization.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Again, I think California just managed to do that. Like, I think that In a lot of places, that is like absolutely a battle.
Yeah, so this is New Jersey. Possessing and using recreational marijuana would become legal for people 21 and over. So New Jersey, it is 67% so far with two and a half million
The numbers
votes.
are great to see too there, because it's just like, I like when something is in the 2/3 percentile.
Right, yeah, it's not close. It's not like 48 to 51 or 52,
of course,
whatever.
for federal use, it would be in the 70s, low 70s. But it's like, duh. You know, again, the only reason you're not seeing this happen is because
Yeah. Let's go to
Big Pharma.
fucking, what is it, Oregon? Is Oregon the one that is a full decriminalization vote?
What do you? No, Oregon did ages ago.
What?
Are you saying did Oregon legalization or legalize marijuana?
All drugs.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All drugs. Let's
Yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah.
Here.
I don't think it's just all drugs. I think it's just other drugs like cocaine.
I think it was all drugs.
Really,
I could be wrong, but we're about to find out.
I might learn something from this.
Amend
I
campaign
just think you have to
finance
be
tobacco.
careful when you say all drugs.
Okay, this is psilocybin.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe
Okay,
you were
yeah,
right.
Exactly. Psilocybin.
I saw can you believe that I saw a misleading news article on Facebook?
fake news.
Can you fucking believe that? Somebody shared a story that was not true.
You
But
know,
hey, I'm fact checking it. Check it out. Fact check.
Being investigated right now. Traffic was limited in the last 24 hours on a lot of Facebook websites. So let's just extend that to say yes, we believe.
It says literally says decriminalize some drugs and provide treatment. Legalize psilocybin.
Yeah, Colorado, you can
Personal, but I mean that is
mushrooms. Isn't it funny though that psilocybin is actually manslaughter in Georgia? So like we're talking about legalizing it in several states, and it already some have, while it is a manslaughter crime in others. Not just marijuana that is a slap on the wrist compared to that.
okay. This is not. We're gonna have to look that up real quick. I want to see what this other. It says personal possession of certain drugs would be decriminalized, but it doesn't say which drugs. So let's look up Measure 110, Oregon, and see if we can figure out what that actually is. Do you guys see how easy this is to fact check things? I'm literally typing shit in on Google search. Like, all you have to do when you come up on something on social media is type it into Google and then check it on different sources.
You don't even have to use home row. You can do what I do.
Yeah.
I can do 96 words per minute, by the way. Going.
That's
Speaking of
badass.
typing.
You know what? Even if you
I
don't
agree.
have fingers and you don't want to use your fingers or anything like that, you can just say, use your microphone. No. You can use the microphone on your phone and probably like Siri or something and be like, "Hey Siri, search Measure 110 Oregon." And then Measure 110 for Oregon is going to pop up and you're going to know what the hell it is.
Or it might type or find the measurement of 1 10-inch something.
Whatever. Oregon
And
Measure
you get-
110. You can say it more.
On David's computer.
On Google, it worked. Let's see. Does it have anything? All right. So the measure would reclassify personal non-commercial drug possession offenses, possession of controlled substances in Schedule 1 through 4, such as heroin, cocaine, meth, would be reclassified from an A misdemeanor to a Class E violation, resulting in a $100 fine. Okay, so I mean that's pretty fucking progressive. So
Awesome.
we're taking heroin, cocaine, and meth, and other drugs that fall into that same class, and
Awesome.
just turning them into a fine essentially. And people are gonna listen to this and be like, "What? Why is meth and heroin gonna be not penalized by prison and jail, But the other part of this is that they're putting money towards rehabilitation and like health programs and mental health and stuff like that. So you're attacking the actual cause of why people use drugs and helping them get off of drugs instead of penalizing them for using drugs, because we've proven through like a 30 or 40 year drug war, trillions of dollars, that criminalizing drug use doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It just
I will also, I would like to share a personal experience. There was a Netflix documentary, I think, about this, but while on tour, I went to Christiania in Copenhagen, which is one of the most successful communes separated from government in the world. And it's but it rotates between 800 and 1,200 people. It was created in 1971, and basically they have had only one, like, or maybe more since, but only a couple, violent incidents without any government. They have basically like TPs where you can walk up and buy drugs and stuff, and like they all give each other jobs, like that are bartering system. They have no government, right?
mm-hmm.
They get along very well. There are some problems, but it's one of the longest lived communes. Not saying that should be the case. I just want to make clear that people are able to come to the conclusion of right and wrong, I believe. And when you take away somebody's ability to do something, and more importantly, do not adhere to how they should be treated, rather than put in a prison cell as addicts, and not allow them to be treated for mental health and their addictions. There's a lot to be learned from like that as a science experiment, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think it's basically an opposite example of that is the war on drugs,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that the United States has the highest incarceration rate in the world,
Mm-hmm.
one of the highest overdose rates in the world, rapidly increasing HIV.
2.2 million people in jail.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, man. It's ridiculous.
And yeah,
And on top of that,
it was just eye-opening for me to go there. Before that, I was not for legalization of all drugs, and granted, that was in 2014, so I've been well into that.
yeah, 6 years ago, man.
But yeah, I think you talking to people that live this way, and I feel like we're just the war on drugs is still going on, and there's still like, we're watching these videos as we grow up that are like, of course doing meth is bad, duh, but it's like you dehumanize people that are addicted to these things.
Mm-hmm. You want to talk about a real world life lesson on drugs?
Mm-hmm.
Both of my brothers, since I was like, I don't know, 13. So like the last 15 to maybe 18 years, almost 20 years, the last 20 years of my life pretty much, my brothers have been addicted to meth. Both of them. And they've been in and out of jail and prison and rehab. And it hasn't done a damn thing for them. It has helped to pull money out of my whole entire family's pocket, because we all have to pay for my brother's drug addictions. And it is, giving them criminal records to the point where they can't even hold a job. They can't get a job. They can't get a house. They can't even rent an apartment. The rehab doesn't work. I mean, what the hell? Like,
it's all too common of a story is the problem. Like
did it help any? Like, how many friends do we know from high school that have overdosed on heroin or other drugs?
It's truly heartbreaking, and I think it's one of the most bipartisan. That's what's heartbreaking. We're talking about something that, again, if this was not in the pocket of drug companies and private interests and lobbies to have used decades to basically hypnotize people, this would be done, son. Like it's well in the 60s of public opinion to handle this differently. And, you know, in marijuana, in the 70s, that's why you're seeing this happen. But it's just, it's a no-brainer. And people all around us, they see, you know, somebody gets cancer in their, or you know, gets in a motorcycle accident, and now you're addicted to opiates or something for the rest of your life, and now you have other problems that stem off of this when you couldn't just get some marijuana. Or for anxiety, Jesus Christ, it's like Ambien, man. Ambien is the death rate. Look it up, man. It's not good. It's like all these things can be solved with simple natural drugs.
I have a buddy that I deployed to Afghanistan with in 2013, and we got home, and to my understanding, he had a back injury, which he got opiates prescribed to him for. And the opiate prescription ran out, and the very first time that he decided to go buy heroin, it was laced with fentanyl, and he overdosed and died. So we went through a war and survived the war, and he came home, and we fought the demons when we got home, but he died because of heroin and fentanyl. And the war on drugs didn't do anything to prevent that.
Right, and we disenfranchise these people for life when they if you have 28 over 28 grams of pot, like I personally had a misdemeanor for pot use. I know.
Oh my God.
But we might have to edit that out for my future job opportunity. Just kidding. That's why it's good to be a musician, but. It was a decade ago, and if I had you know, a little bit more, I wouldn't be able to vote today against the biggest tyrant we've seen in ever, maybe. But
yeah, we won't say his name right now, but we both have
yeah,
a friend. Well, he's my friend. I don't know if he's your friend. But we know somebody that has a felony from marijuana. And he can't own a gun or vote right now.
Right. The point is there's a lot of those people, and now they've made it in some states like Florida a thing where you can actually get these rights back if you finish paying off your ridiculous fucking fees. Then you pay for your vote.
It's so stupid.
Right. And it's like...
Or you could have Michael Bloomberg wait conveniently a month before an election and pay billions of dollars to buy your vote.
That's a damn well better expense than his failed campaign. It was a fucking joke. But you wouldn't have Michael Bloomberg pay for people's bonds so they could vote if it wasn't a thing in the first place. And then they might not be tempted to vote for the guy that paid for their bullshit for the thing that, like, duh. Jesus Christ.
I can't argue with that.
If there's a Republican candidate that legalizes, if Trump would have legalized pot, he would have had a Ronald Reagan map. I mean, he obviously didn't realize that. Otherwise, I think he would have done it because I think he has no core beliefs in his mind. I think he just kind of does whatever the person in the room, the last person to talk to him, said, or whatever he, feels the color of the sky is that day. But point is, I think that we need to have a realization of why this is not a thing yet, why the war on drugs is still going on, and fix that problem in addition to legalizing or decriminalizing drugs.
I mean, personally for me, I think we decriminalize everything, and people freak out when I say that, but decriminalize all of it. You still have to regulate it. Like, I mean, it's not... People think, like, you can just go to Quick Trip and buy heroin as a 12-year-old.
Sure, I probably said legalize a couple of times in the wrong context, too.
Well, no. It doesn't even matter. Like, anybody that says... Okay, alcohol is legal, right? It's illegal for you to buy alcohol. It's legal for you to buy tobacco, right?
CVS shouldn't sell 8 balls. Like I'm saying, it's fine if you have retail for pot, but
Okay, but let's think about it like this. So different states have different rules, but in Georgia, you can't go to Quick Trip and buy liquor. You can't go to Kroger and buy liquor. You have to go to a liquor store to buy liquor, right? But alcohol is legal. So drugs might be decriminalized or legalized, but you still can be regulated in where you have to go and how old you have to be to buy it, and limitations on how much you can buy. Like, there's still
it's a different conversation.
there's plenty of room to regulate these things.
Different conversation than decriminalizing, and then you look individually at legalizing in that sense. That's why I was saying I misspoke on some things. I just think that, like, obviously we're not gonna, like, you will have people in this day in 2020 that are depressed go buy an amount that will, when they have a bad day, make them overdose. You don't want that so much as you want to open a door to where they can be let back into society if they go too far. And not only that, are given avenues of help and assistance and not deemed criminals for a mental health problem. I'm saying that we are in a system
Hold up.
that pivots off of this
We
solution.
have a change here. So, when we started this conversation, it was originally Nevada and Arizona had flopped, and I think Nevada had went red, but now it's going back to blue. But what is their vote count right now? They're 51% Joe Biden with 51% reporting. So
Oh, what a coinky dick.
So that is definitely looking good for Joe. Let me back out.
It doesn't mean shit.
It doesn't, yeah. I mean, absolutely, there's nothing in this that really means shit tonight because the mail-in ballots still got to be counted. We've still got, I don't know, probably weeks, right?
Not weeks, I would say.
A week, maybe.
Again, Pennsylvania, about 10,000 votes per hour counted. We arrive at around Friday or Monday.
It just switched again.
Yeah, it's gonna be like this for a while. People need to chill out and just like not call anything.
But that was literally, it still says the same.
What I had expected was we are going to have basically a close night. But if Biden is close tonight, then that is good because we have, I guess, majority mail-in votes. If there are 90 million.
Let me clarify what he means by that's good. He means that that's good for Democrats. It's not good for me because I voted for Joe Jorgensen. So, that's not good for me. Continue.
Sure. And, Joe Jorgensen's close, too. We don't know anything. There's a lot of mail-in ballots that have to be counted.
Yeah, exactly. She could win every single mail-in ballot.
But Republicans historically, for whatever reason, mostly vote on Election Day. And in this case, do not all believe
Hold up.
in the...
Republicans, conservatives, mostly vote on Election Day?
Most early, like before 2020, because this breaks precedent with a couple things because of the pandemic, most early votes are Democrats. And
You're telling me that conservatives, people that align with traditional values, tend to vote on Election Day?
He does this. He does it so well.
You know where I'm going?
Oh, yeah.
So conservatives are doing...
And they tend to vote for a guy who is not for the Second Amendment.
So these conservatives are voting for...
In this case.
They're voting on Election Day, which happens to be the traditional norm of elections, right? Voting on Election Day. As opposed to, like, a new, open-minded thought of, like, mail-in votes or early voting.
Go on.
I'm just saying it's not surprising that conservatives would vote on Election Day because it's the fucking norm.
But what I'm saying is, in this case, because there are majority mail-in ballots, and because for some fucking reason we have only, I guess, the liberals continue to be the party of science that believe in a pandemic and don't want to risk their health voting in person. We're looking at about 70% ish of mail-in ballots being Democrat, while more in person was Republican.
What's the actual risk of catching COVID at, like, going to an election poll?
Probably depends on the poll. Probably depends on the place. If they enforce masks, then not much. But we live in a place that we don't see as much of abuse towards that as a lot of other parts of the country. And
I guess that's a fair point. But when I went and voted, anecdotal evidence, pretty much every single person was wearing a mask.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also social distancing,
stuff
like that.
And
it's
place,
like,
I mean, this part of Georgia.
I don't even know, like, how many people do you know that are Democrats or liberals that are not going to Kroger or not going to work or not going to any type
Even
of
in
family
Wuhan,
events?
They went to their Wuhan Kroger, like during the lockdown. It's not like
Right. So like, why are we pretending going in person to fucking the Gwinnett County Fairgrounds is going to give me COVID?
Because the whole point is, and I'm glad you asked that, because the CDC said today, their statement on this was that they could not keep people, even who test positive with COVID, from going to vote. And in this case, they, while not recommending it, said we can't keep you from doing it, and then laid out ways or things that you need to do in that case, because they knew people would do it. And that is a important distinction from saying go vote if you have COVID. Hopefully in this case, like, people thought ahead, or you could have even had a family member bring your mail-in ballot. There's other ways to have done it, but if you had to do that, blah blah blah. Sorry, I digress. What I'm saying is, number one, going to grocery stores and essential work are things you have to do. You need food, unless you're clever and you like work out, I guess, the Walmart delivery thing or whatever. But it's like, if you have to do some things, but if you mix those things with things you don't have to do, you exponentially increase the chance of spreading said virus.
Mm-hmm.
And if along the way,
but this is one event, and this is one important event. This isn't just like,
I was talking about things besides voting there, because you mentioned going to Kroger and stuff like that. But yes.
No, you said that Kroger and work are things that you have to do. Like, you have to buy groceries. You have to go to work. You know, if you have to go in person to Kroger, and if you have to go in person to work, then those are things that you have to do. But going in person to voting isn't necessary.
Publix is we're doing like a sponsorship for Kroger right now, and unless they got good sushi, I feel like Publix is a good option.
Well, actually, we don't like Publix because we got our swordfish from Publix and it was expensive.
Thank you. All right, Kroger. K. Roger, all day. All right.
Anyways.
So, all I'm saying is, we talked about the Swiss cheese effect, where basically, if you mitigate one way, it doesn't necessarily do shit on its own, but it's mixing that with other means of mitigation.
I get that, but it's like, people are picking and choosing when they want to talk about the Swiss cheese method. Sure. It's like, hey, let's talk about protests and riots and shit like that.
Protests
not
linked to increase in COVID.
That is fucking retarded if you actually believe that.
Protests, I'm saying not all of them were. Massachusetts had a huge protest in June and they saw their best month. Basically, you can look at the county. I mean, you can look it up yourself if you want, but I'm saying, like, there are isolated areas that wore 100% masks and tried to social distance, but best you could. But I'm saying, if you try, if you really try, you like the Trump rallies that we're seeing. If he got up there and said, "I see some people not wearing masks. It'd be great if you wore a mask." Like if he did that, I bet fucking lives would be saved. I mean, it's not a bet; it's how many. But I'm saying, there is data to suggest it can be done, and I should say also Massachusetts. The example I'm giving was not COVID free. Like there were people with COVID that did not spread it, and it's just important that people realize the importance. And when you're in that situation in crowds, and not just fiddle with your mask, take it off for a while.
But I'm talking about
hug your friends.
I don't understand why we're putting this such an emphasis on how it's so dangerous to vote in person. It's so dangerous to vote in person, but it's not so. It's not so dangerous to go to Kroger, and it's not so dangerous to go to a protest full of thousands and thousands of people. It's not so dangerous to go to work.
This is the issue in looking at it that way. We are saying that voting once, hopefully, Trump did say, you could mail in and vote. But we are saying that voting one time is among these events in your life. And not to say going to a party with a bunch of people or going to a bar or whatever. Number one, having high-risk people in your life matters a lot too. There's a lot of factors and parameters in this. The point is, if you mix in and you pile up things that don't matter, then all of a sudden you have. I mean, it's kind of like if you're having.
But what doesn't matter? That you're referring to.
What I'm saying is it's exponential growth. You can't avoid.
But voting is like one of the most important things that you can do, right?
Right, but I'm
for
saying
for the country, for yourself.
Right.
So why are we lumping that in with like, well, it's not that important, so we shouldn't have to do it in person? Because the argument really there.
I don't think it should have been.
I think what you're saying is the argument is like you shouldn't go in person to do things that aren't that important. So you shouldn't have to go vote in person. But voting is like one of the most important things. Mm-hmm. So why are you trying to lump that in with like going to a party or going to a Trump rally?
I'm not. I think that it was a mistake to have as much mail-in as we have. If you're asking that.
That's kind of what I'm asking.
Yeah. So
I don't understand why.
Here's the thing. I think that number one, and like this is important. If people are judging people for thinking that, they need to understand that different people have different concerns for their high risk and other people in their lives high risk. And it pisses me off to no end, people making mask shaming and stuff like that. Not that you are, but I'm saying people doing that and not understanding, hey, they may have, aunt or grandma living in their in-law suite that they might bring it home to. People are terrorized of that stuff. But what I'm saying is that should be the case for not voting in person. And there are plenty of people that I know, like I have friends that are, 18 years old and they're like, I could just get it mailed to me and mail it in. And no, you shouldn't do that. Absolutely. Not until we figure out a better way to handle, obviously, the USPS and like all of this fuckery. And I'm thinking of different reasons than you probably are, but we can agree it's fuckery.
Yeah.
It's not good for us to overwhelm the mail, just like it's not good to overwhelm the hospitals. So it needs to be good cause for you not to go vote in person. And we are seeing from where we live, it's not that bad of lines today. Like it's not that unsafe in that regard.
Really, like honestly, after the first 2 or 3 days, it's been pretty good. Like the first 2 or 3 days in Georgia, it was pretty bad. It was like up to 11 or 13 hours or something like that. It was like I mean, essentially a full day. But the problem, which they figured out within literally the first 2 days, was that they didn't have enough bandwidth going to the software, and they sent more bandwidth to the software, and ever since then, literally, it's been like, maybe 2 hours at the most, and that's like lunchtime. Like that's when I went and voted. I went and voted at the worst time that you could possibly go vote, and it took me about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes to go vote.
Mm-hmm. I probably look like a big hypocrite too, but I was just
Why so?
Because I'm saying a lot of this stuff, and we're like hanging out in a room together. But
yeah, but you got tested. Like
I get tested once a week, which is abnormal for most people.
He gets tested all the time, and I just don't go anywhere. Like I'm a law student and a father, and I don't have a job, so I'm not in the public normally.
Yeah.
And if I am in public, I do wear a mask.
I was preemptively trying to address maybe a comment or two that would call out for that, but there's maybe
I don't think people would normally assume
there's maybe 2 hypocrite points in there. If Mitch McConnell is like a 10 billion hypocrite points.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just saying.
I'll argue with you all day if you want to start talking shit about
my main point is frequency and huge crowds, and doesn't mean something, and can it be prevented? And you can look at the counties that Trump does his rallies in, and then the uptick of the virus, 10 days later, and talk to me after you look at that. It's not cool when you could just get up there and say.
That sounds like something that would be very interesting to look at.
Sure.
I would like you to put that together for me.
Cool.
And then we can reconvene.
I'm going to go home tonight and sleep in my tears and then wake up. I'm just kidding.
Why would you sleep in your tears? Fucking Joe Biden's got 224 to 213 right now.
Go ahead and hit refresh.
I think that is refresh. 224 to 230. This is a live, active feed.
We're getting close, that's for sure. The reason Trump was in Nebraska last Tuesday was because his campaign legitimately feared a situation where you get 269, and basically the remaining vote is a Nebraska county. Shit you not. Like, they went there because of it. Like, they spent time addressing that issue and left people in the cold with hypothermia. But I'm sure they'll still vote for him. But they to have a Republican incumbent go to Nebraska. It's crazy.
I don't know shit about Nebraska, honestly.
Well, because no one ever goes there. That's what I'm saying. So, it's a gesture, if anything, that happened. Now, obviously, Trump is outperforming expectations tonight, but the 3 states that won him 2016, Wisconsin may be called at 11 a.m., but Michigan maybe Thursday, and Pennsylvania, who fucking knows?
So, as of right now, Michigan is 53 to 44, so that's not looking too great for Joe. But Wisconsin...
How much reporting you got to say that?
Oh, 65.
But...
So, yeah, not counting...
Not counting you guys got to remember, these mail-ins are, like, not just 60%, but we're talking in the 70s on leaning blue.
Well, yeah, but I guess you have to also look at you have to consider individual states and how much, how many mail-in there are. So that's a lot more work. But you'd have to.
There are a lot. That's why.
Yeah.
Like that is
Pennsylvania
the one that
for sure.
I researched that.
But That's the point, though, is that you have to look up every individual
But
state.
the
and look
point
at it.
is, the fact is, the point and the fact is
The point and the fact.
that 90, whatever it was, I think 92 million mail-in. So like more than half, if that's true. If that's, you can fact check that. But so we have to assume that the margin is within 40% ish, or mail-in, maybe 35 median or something like that per state. Is what I'm saying. If the whole country is over half mail-in. So, yes, it's a big deal.